This is the Seahawkers podcast, live and uncatfish. I'm Brandon Schultz, and I am joined by my good buddy Adam Emmert for this live reaction of the Seahawks' 29-20 loss to the stupid New York Giants.
Well, it can't all be winners, but this one is extra frustrating because we talk about complete team wins. This was a complete team loss every phase of the game.
They lost on defense. They lost on offense. They even lost on special teams there at the end. I would like to hear from special teams coordinator Jay Harbaugh exactly what happened on that play, because I can see in the chat a lot of folks joining us live. Over 50 people in here already. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe if you are new here. And yeah, I also thought that jumping over the line was disallowed, or also lining up over the center, which generally puts you in that position to be able to make that gap. But not the case in this, and they blocked the field goal that would have tied it up and sent it into overtime potentially, and instead run it back for the game-winning score.
They do, and a lot of discussion here in the comments over the blocked field goal there and whether or not that's legal or not legal. I thought they banned it because of Bam Bam. Now the announcers say, well, he kind of hits the gap there. Okay. I don't know, man. That's tough. But the point of it is that we should never have been in that position to be right there at the end, needing a field goal just to tie it up and try to extend the game. And yeah, I mean, to Steele's point here, every team loses one that you're supposed to win. This is one that you're supposed to win. This is not a good football team that you lost to at home, and it's highly disappointing. And it does speak to some of the deficiencies that we've seen with the team the first 4 weeks and some of the concerns that we had. They've managed to overcome those, and they damn near did today. But there's a lot of work to be done.
We've got our live executive producer R Ryan 911 with the $9.99 super chat. Game 5 of a multi-season process. It's going to be okay. It may end up being okay, Ryan, but after losing to the Giants, I feel like we're on bad team watch. Like, are we actually a bad team? Because it feels like we're a bad team. Like you said, Adam, the Giants are a bad team. We lost badly to a bad team. And they did it in every phase. Like, the offensive line was overwhelmed by their defensive line. Their offensive line, we didn't get any pressure on them. We may have found out that Tracy is their better running back, as he went for 129 yards on 18 carries. The Daniel Jones, 11 carries for 38, I would have lived with that. But yeah, for them to allow the second string running back and then a lot of deep passes down the field to Slayton, a lot of bad play on the defensive side.
Yeah, so I mean, we can start with Trey Brown's very good, no good, very bad day. It was not a good performance from Trey Brown. They found the weakest link and they abused him constantly. And I think one of the more frustrating things defensively wise is that the entire game they decided to play outside leverage on Slayton there and allow him to catch an easy slant over and over and over and over and wait a second and over and over and over again. And that was really infuriating watching. It is one of the things that they went to every time they needed to pick up a third and medium. We saw him go to it at the end of the game there, and they actually stopped it. Pritchett actually was able to get his hand in there and stop a slant for the first time all day. But really the long and short of it defensively is that they were never able to stop the run, not from the word jump. They got ran down their throat. And once they started, trying to load up the box right after halftime, beginning of the third quarter, which is exactly what I wanted them to do, I had no idea Trey Brown would just not be able to cover downfield one-on-one. That's when it got super ugly. And then they had no answers.
Yeah, both touchdowns early on coming on plays where they caught the Seahawks in man defense and they just ran crossing routes over the field and they weren't able to keep up with the receivers. So there was that part of it. Shoot, the Giants should have had a touchdown early on. We're awfully close, but a big play by Jerome Baker forces a fumble and they're able to run it back for a 102-yard touchdown, which, it was nice to get that touchdown early on. I thought that the offense then would have been able to do something. And really, I mean, PNW Gamer Guy saying, well, 2 weeks, I feel like we would have won had DK not fumbled. There is that. Yes, they're 0 for 2 when DK fumbles the ball, and that can't keep happening.
It can't. And look, those are two massive fumbles. You're driving the ball, you're looking to score there, especially when the offense was having a hard time getting going out of the gates, and then you fumble it away. And the big problem with that is that the offense actually pulled its head out of its butt for the first couple plays of that drive, and they got under center. First play action, sucks everybody up. A easy shot to lock it well down the field. Next play, nice run to K9 from under center, give him a head of steam, able to get outside, and then DK fumbles. And then Grubb goes completely away from it for the rest of the game in another game, to where I think our running backs had 7 total carries? 7. And that makes you incredibly one-dimensional. And that's exactly what the Giants were playing all game. They didn't give 2 craps about the run game early in that game. They were just pinning their ears back and making life hard on Geno right out the gate. And that's putting your offensive line in a no-win situation.
That, to me, was the most frustrating thing about it, is that the Giants defense, all they had to play for was the pass the entire day. And they that's what they played. They got their hands up as soon as Geno hit his back foot, able to swat down multiple passes, and they were sitting on some of that short stuff. It makes it really easy on the defense when you play very one-dimensionally the entire game. And in a game where it was close the entire game, you had no reason to play that one-dimensional. 7 carries, and you had 4 Geno carries, which a lot of those on some nifty scrambles, including one at the end of the game, which nearly set up that game-tying field goal. But yeah, I had my questions about how they would bounce back after that loss. And unfortunately, the answer that we got was not very good, because now we're coming off another loss. The only thing that makes this even make me feel okay was that the Niners also lost. So that was nice.
Yeah, that definitely helps in going into a short week. It's going to be a difficult time for this team. And I do want to get more into the offense later, but really this starts with a really poor defensive performance. Last week we looked at it and we said, well, okay, you're missing half your starters. I can see how that could be. And in this game, they start out, have a hard time stopping the run, and then they're constantly rotating out into 2 high coverages all throughout the first half and leaving all the little dump offs to the flat open. They couldn't cover a slant for the life of them. It was dump offs to the flat, slants, and then drag routes underneath to a tight end or a late breaking receiver. And Daniel Jones could just sit and pick you apart at that time. That's unbelievably frustrating. Look, this is a team that lives and dies with the short stuff and Daniel Jones running around. Get everybody up, get into single high looks. Then again, they did it in the third quarter and got burned. So what the hell do I know? I guess I don't know.
Yeah, you kind of want to put the defense on that early, I feel like, because by that time they were up. I felt like they could be a little bit more comfortable on offense because they knew that there wasn't any pressure really coming for Jones. And so that then allowed them to go to that deep stuff. And yeah, he could sit back there comfortably knowing that the Seahawks weren't going to get that much pressure, because their line had been holding back the defense all day. We've got Samuel Gelber in with the $12 super chat. Big thanks to Sam. Going to be hateful hearing how the Gold Diggers will be going into the Thursday night game, quote unquote, angry, and we'll be going into it with no positive emotion. I hope that there's a little bit of anger on this team, a little bit. They have, because this is going to be the first divisional matchup that they're going to have. So how do they prepare for that? How do they do it on a short week? And coming off of 2 losses, there needs to be a response, and an emotional one. And so with the 49ers coming into town, with the crowd being into it, I hope that we're looking for a bounce back win. I know Jacob Wilson in the chat is.
Let's hope so. Look, for any younger viewers here with us with the 222 checking in earmuffs, that was fucking embarrassing. Like, to be that completely out physicaled all game. And part of that is the style of offense that we're running right now. So that's part of it on the offensive side. But to get out physicaled like that up front on defense, like, you better be angry. You better be mad. Like, there is no way that you should be getting just manhandled in that way when you have the likes of Leo and Hankins and Reed and all of those guys up front, and they're just getting turned and pushed around. That is the antithesis of the type of play that Coach Mike told us that he wanted to employ when he became the Seahawks head coach. And that looked a lot like the last couple of years of Pete Carroll defense. It is really what it looked like. And
it looked like
it's
that.
super frustrating.
Yeah, even offensively. I mean, when you talk about the stuff that was Waldron type offensive coordinator stuff, and so it's frustrating on both sides of the ball, and then for them also to lose it on special teams. Don Matta with the $9.99 super chat. Grubb is too pass happy. That's an understatement. McDonald got cooked. Yes, he did. Special teams, not great. Comprehensive loss. We got a lot of work to do. The hope for me went down, but not all lost. And yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why we said early on going into the season that you don't want to have an opinion of what this team is after 3-4 weeks, because there are going to be some up and down moments. And even going into this game, like we said, we wanted to see how this team would respond coming off of a loss. And you have to wonder, how they're going to respond after a second loss, but how, what the reaction was inside the building that led them to this. Like, were they grinding? Were they just thinking, oh, they got us on one, but we'll bounce back? How much of there really was confidence versus trying to put in the extra work? And unfortunately, it's going to be now a short week, another one.
It is going to be a short week. We will see how they respond. And you're right. It's early, and I'm not going to freak out too much. The season's not over. This team isn't defined yet. This is hopefully a good learning experience. I thought maybe the Detroit game would be a little bit more of a wake-up call in some areas of this team, but didn't seem to be in any way, shape, or form. I do agree with an earlier comment that this is more on the defense than the offense, but the offense did crap the bed too. And really,
another turnover is a big part of it. Yeah.
Yep. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to the style. And you need a fourth and short late in the game in your own end. And you go to razzle dazzle, play action, try to flip it out to a back. But you can't get to the physical run game and just jelly it down their throat like the 22 Eagles, because you don't practice playing that way. That's not your offensive philosophy in any way, shape, or form. It's all sit in the gun, throw the ball around like you're a Pac fucking 12 team. And I am already sick of it. I'm already sick of it, because the problem with it is it has volatility. Like we saw, early in the year, things were working out great, and you can't hang your hat on a high flying pass happy offense week in, week out. You need to be more balanced to be able to be consistent week in, week out, because even against a bad team like the Giants, the margin of error between good teams and mediocre teams like the Seahawks, or bad teams and mediocre teams like the Seahawks, is pretty small. And we saw it today.
Aaron Sherwood with the 199 super chat. Thank God this division sucks. We got to see the Rams go down to the Packers, so that's also nice. And yeah, I was shocked that the Cardinals ended up making that comeback against the Niners, but I'm happy to see it. Yeah, Brian Burns on that 4th and 1, not your FSU Brian Burns that might actually bite on that type of play. Instead, you have professional Brian Burns who's like, well, they're not going to run the football because, they haven't been doing that all day. Of course, I'm going to go after Geno on 4th and 1 and try and shut it down. It's that type of stuff when you run the ball 7 times during the day that a guy like a professional player like Brian Burns, who's really, really good, is going to say, I know exactly what they're going to do. Or have 100%. A really solid guess. I know 80% at least. And if they beat me on 20%, then oh well.
Exactly. And I appreciate that, Craig. And it's just something that's kind of painfully obvious as you've watched the team through the last couple of weeks. And this has to be a wake-up call for Grubb. And this better be a wake-up call for Mike McDonald. Like, you cannot win games not stopping the run in the manner that has been against the Patriots, against the Lions, and now the Giants. Like, once a coincidence, twice is a trend, three times is a you problem. This is a you problem. Like, this, something's not working here. I'm excited to go back and rewatch it and try to see what it was they were getting beat with in the run game. Were they running a bunch of duo? Was it stretch? Like, what was going on there that they had such a difficult time stopping?
Yeah, because it's in some cases, if you're getting beat by in the passing game, you can chuck it up to communication type issues, and they may have had some of that in the passing game, but the run game they were just being out physical. And when you had, yes, you're down boy Amafe, but you've got Leonard Williams back, Byron Murphy, yeah, the rookie that you brought in, but you also brought in Jonathan Hankins, and it feels like we haven't seen Hankins holding up in the run game as much too. So when you go back and watch, he'll be one to see if is he getting pushed around too, a big dude like that. But they were testing the edges, I felt like, more so in the run game than hitting it up the middle. We saw some stuff up the middle late, but it definitely felt like more perimeter runs from the Giants early on.
I would agree. It did feel like maybe it was some outside zone or whatever it was, but they were not able to contain the edge. Another spot, we talk about the DK fumble being a big part of how you end up losing this game. The beginning of the third quarter defensively really is a bugaboo spot for these guys. So Trey Brown gets torched on the first drive twice and gives up the touchdown. And then the next drive, they get him into like a 3rd and 6, a 3rd and 7, and Trey gets called for defensive holding, which was a terrible call. That was a bad call. You could have been off the field there. That changes the whole dynamic of the game instead of giving up more points. Because they ended up going up 17-10 right there. So.
Yeah, it was another rough moment there. Trey Brown, not real good, but can you bench Trey Brown? Probably not, because Nehemiah Pritchett is the rook behind him, and it's not like he was playing all that great out there, but I guess we'll have to see. I was a little bit surprised that maybe they didn't go more Witherspoon than out on the edge, but Reek Woolen ended up going down in this game too. So we ended up seeing a lot of Pritchett, and their depth was tested. That's one thing that I think has stood out then through these first 5 weeks, is that the depth on defense has really, it's been tested and shown to be not good.
At least in certain positions, linebacker, and I would say probably once you get past the 3 corners,
linebacker, safety, corner,
the safety
line
hasn't been that bad. I mean, Jenkins had the nice play on the goal line and was able to get things going there. And Julian Love has played really good football. So,
I meant the depth behind Jenkins and Love.
I like Kayvon Wallace fine.
It's just the last game though, the safety depth, we got to see that, and there was a lot of plays down the middle and over the top.
But even starting linebackers, when it comes to pass coverage, and this is the kind of point about these teams have been very physical up front and have been running the football and getting those linebackers sucked up and then throwing it right over their head. That is something that the teams are seeing, and they're like, yep, we're going to attack that all day. And boy, howdy did they. And it really is difficult to watch, because you watch somebody of the ilk of Daniel Jones have what I believe is a better game than Jared Goff had in the last game, where he went 18 for 18.
Right. Gano says next draft, all O-line, every single pick. One of them got to work out. I saw somebody else mention in the chat earlier that, are they not running because the offensive line is that bad? Well, if the offensive line is bad, I don't know what to tell you, but they're dropping Geno back. How many times? 40 times in this game. And fortunately, we saw him able to move enough. And he ultimately ended up taking some sacks. But it would help the offensive line more to go to some run plays, even if you are getting 3, 4, 5 yards. And even when you see the offensive line is bad, you got K9 back there who's able to make dudes miss and make things happen. So I don't think that that's a strategy call by Grubb necessarily, saying, oh, well, this team, they have a strong front 7 of their defense, and so we're going to throw the football around and not really go against the run. I think we've learned through 5 games now that Ryan Grubb just does not like running the football.
I remember being lambasted all off season when I was like, it doesn't look like this dude likes to run the football. I think this is going to be a problem, and getting everybody jumping down my throat in the comments and that sort of thing. Look, you're 100% right. You start running the football a little bit, and this is one of the things that's really frustrating about Grubb. So one of the first plays of the game, they run with K9. It's a gain of 1. That's it. Oh, it doesn't work. We're done. It doesn't work. Like if he did that after every incompletion and went back to running the football, it would look a lot different. Like be like, oh, it was incomplete. This shit doesn't work. Like that's what he seems to do with the run game. And it makes me crazy as a 12. It's difficult to watch.
Long live the king with a $5 super chat. One of our members saying, I dread to think how this game would have looked if neighbors were playing. Haven't played a team with a dynamic pass game. Yeah, the fact that neighbors wasn't out there, it would have made the. Although with the way that their run game played, I don't know if it just would have been distributed to neighbors rather than to Slayton. And some of the catches that Wandale got. When you look at the numbers for the Giants, Daniel Jones goes 23 of 34, 257 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And yeah, there you go. Majority of those passes. Darius Slayton catches 122 yards and a touchdown. Wandale Robinson, very mid receiver. There you go, Clinton. I know you're listening in the chat. 6 catches, 36 yards. He did have the touchdown where he ran away from Reek Woolen, and a couple catches by the running back out of the backfield along with their tight end.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff for Wandale was short stuff. That's fine. You live with that. Like that's one of the things that even Coach Mike has said in his pressers that, look, if they're going to throw it short like that, we'll live with that, and then we'll rally up, make a tackle, and then live to fight another day. And that's fine if you're also stopping the run. But if you're not doing that, then you got to smother everything because it's going to be a long, long day. And again, just a tough overall loss. And, as we sit here and be negative and frustrated about the loss, this could be that game that we look back on in week 13 and go, that was the wake-up call. That's when things started to change. That's when they started doing this, that, and the other thing. And stuff started to look better. And I don't have those suggestions right now. I'd have to go back on a rewatch and really try to break it down a little bit more. But I guarantee you that this is something that Coach Mike takes the team behind closed doors. And instead of Pete style, try to love you through it. I think the whip's going to come out a little bit. I think he's going to be mad.
Well, and when I talk about how a team reacts and responds too, I mean, Sam in the chat posts the quote from Mike McDonald, we need to get the run going. We need to get the ball to Kenmore. You can only say that after every game so many times before, at what point do you, I don't know, find somebody else to then call the plays up in the booth or what is the response? What is the appropriate response? Do you hand it? You put Leslie Frazier like next to Ryan Grubb in the play booth and say, nudge him a little bit, like if he calls a play, like swat his hand with a ruler or something. Like what is the appropriate reaction when with the offensive coordinator? I don't know.
Well, okay. So first and foremost, at the beginning of the year, when I was disappointed with the hire, I said then, and I stand behind it now, I am not ready to fire the guy, get a new play caller now. I'm going to give the dude 2 years to try to figure it out. Like, yeah, I'm not going to knee jerk that. Now, the other part of it, when it comes to the run pass ratio and what we're doing there, is you've heard Gino talk about it in his press conferences, Grubb talk about it in his press conferences. The announcers mentioned it today that Gino gets to the line early and has the ability to check in and out of different plays. And as much as we're killing Grubb for not getting to the run game, how much of this falls on Gino's shoulders in terms of how many of these is he checking out of? And we're not going to ever know that as fans from the outside looking in. But if that's part of the problem, then both Grubb and Gino need a talking to and have some splaining to do.
Yeah, Geno Smith on the day, 28 of 40, 284 yards. His stat line does look nice at the end of the day in terms of efficiency and that sort of thing too. And I think that Geno, from what we've seen so far, like he's having an outstanding first 5 games. Like I couldn't be happier with the quarterback play. I couldn't be happier with the group of receivers. Shoot, JSN had a really nice first down pickup. He got the touchdown in the back of the end zone. DK, probably not the greatest day, even considering the fumble. Nice day for Tyler. Had a couple catches downfield. It was interesting to look at the stat line at the end of the game, too, and see Ken Walker with 7 catches for 57 yards.
Yeah, I mean, that's another way you can get it into his hands. And the unfortunate part is that's a soft way to get it into his hands in terms of style of play.
Oh, sure.
And so that, again, plays into the overarching problem of the lack of physicality offensively. And look, JSN made some nice plays, and that was great. The drop on third down on the last drive, that hurts. That hurts pretty bad. And then DK with the fumble. So while they're making big plays as a group, there's work to be done there as well.
Mike Ball in chat asking, are we trading Walker now since we obviously don't have plans on using him? Simply embarrassing, the complete ignorance of balance. Yeah, probably not trading him, probably not trading DK, even though he had another fumble. Probably not benching Trey Brown for the season because he had a bad game. Guys are going to have bad games, bad moments. And I would like to see more K9, though. Pepper Horton coming in with a $5 super chat. Appreciate that, Pepper. Also, Carly Perkins, who was at the game. Am I allowed to keep going to Hawks games despite being 2-2? At least Lockett had a hell of a day. We got to beat the Niners to shake this off. Yes, Carly, you may keep going to games and keep cheering your brains out. And because, even as fans, we have moments where maybe we curse the team like I did by not putting out our pick'em show until at halftime. I tried to make the late adjustment. It didn't work. We ended up taking the L.
We did, but I'm going to channel my inner Robin Williams here. Car. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. That's all right. I love sarcastic typing, Mike.
Yeah,
it's all good,
I knew Mike wasn't serious.
Yeah.
May as well trade him. That's why I said DK. May as well trade that guy too. Why not just get rid of everybody?
Yeah. Did we get to Ryan's second super chat here? Because he's been extra generous today. What?
Oh, yes.
An
amazing
live. And I don't even care about getting credit. That's not the point. I just want to give Ryan a shine because he is freaking amazing as our live executive producer. Appreciate you a ton.
Definitely appreciate you, Ryan. Yes. Nate Shoots saying I'm to blame. I'll take some of the blame in this one too. Sometimes you have bad days. Sometimes you forget to bring your computer so you can post shows when you're on the road. And so that's what I did.
Yep. It's your fault. Part of it could be my fault too. Some wildland firefighters drove up to the cabin here in the middle of the game. I had to stop and go and talk to them. Hopefully we don't burn down in the next week. We'll see. If you see me permanently from the road for the rest of the winter, you'll know why. But maybe it was my fault for trying to prioritize that. I should have stuck to the game.
Should have stuck to it. Podcast Hobo Shack. Hopefully that is not in jeopardy. Spock being saying what's missing is tight tackling, man-to-man coverages, and linebackers stop running attack even in the pocket. I did see Dotson have a couple plays where he guessed the wrong hole for the running back, and that ended up leading to some tough run, some extra yards by the Giants. So that's another thing to watch back on, just to see if the linebackers are trying to guess too much rather than trying to fill their hole. And
there's a couple times there where I didn't know if it was that a D lineman got washed out, and so now the backer's trying to cover two holes, and the gap discipline's all gone at that point, or if they are guessing. That's interesting. I do agree with Igla here. I mean, the ceiling is there, and that's cool. I like this question from Matt. If y'all could choose any OC, who would y'all pick? I've got two names, Brandon, but I'm curious what you think.
Oh man, I miss Shoddy right now. I know that might be weird to say.
No, I don't Shoddy. It'd be either Monken or Greg Roman for me.
Not Greg Roman for me.
Okay, I like his philosophy, but I mean,
his philosophy is good. His I don't know. He's questionable to me in other times though.
Okay,
is there a fire down by you?
It's about 6 miles from the house. Yeah, a big old wire fire that blew up in freaking October of all times. So, anyways, enough about me. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about Seahawks.
Yeah, see, Nate Shoots is with me on Greg Roman. He's a no as well.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, if other people disagree, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, bring back Bevel. He didn't do anything wrong.
No, not nothing wrong. Not not throwing on the goal line wrong. Like, are we sure? Gosh, I saw a Burrow pick earlier today that gave me PTSD, man. They ran the play and it got jumped by Marlon Humphrey. And that didn't feel good to watch.
Eaglet Snupper saying we should talk about the Niners loss to Cope. Yeah, we're trying to inject some humor into this, and so I guess we can inject some joy into it too by saying, "Ha ha, Niners lost."
Yep, Niners lost. That never hurts my feelings. I'm happy to see that, though. I did realize it put it in real crystal clear perspective that I do not watch scores while I'm watching the football game. I really don't. I had no idea until they did the game break. I had no clue.
Oh, you didn't even know what was going on. Yeah, so you're the one who needs that game break. You just can't even.
I'm a very simple person, Brandon, and multitasking in that way is a little more than I can deal with. Hey,
that little bar at the bottom is just too much visual addition for you.
I don't even look at it. Look, one of the best parts of the offense today was Gino picking his spots to run the football when he saw man coverage and everybody's backs turned to him. The only critique I'd have, what was it, 3rd and 14, and he ends up sliding right there. And I think they ended up picking that one up, but even still.
Yeah, the 3rd and 14, just sliding 1 yard short. Yeah, that was rough to see that. But you also don't want to see him go head first either and end up getting hurt. So maybe he made the correct choice there. Ganos saying Niners lost makes spots. You got to pick and choose your spots for sure. Niners loss makes me smile ear to ear. However, Arizona might be legit this year. Don't fool yourself, Ganos. Arizona is not legit. You're fooling yourself if you're saying too that the Giants are legit just because they beat our Seahawks. No, that was also a bad team. Arizona also a bad team. We just might be all bad teams in the NFC West this year, but we might end up being the best of the bad teams.
I would say that they're all, except for the Rams right now with all the injuries, I'd say they're all mediocre teams. I think that's probably closer to the truth than being a bottom tier team. But then again, I mean, losing to the freaking Giants, like, come on. I mean, no Neighbors, no Singletary, and you still struggle. Like, that's tough.
Yeah, Brandon, we talked about the 4th and 1 call already.
Yeah, it's just because you don't have an identity of being a physical football team. And so that's what you get. And that was another one of those things in the offseason after the hire. And they're like, oh, but check out what he did on 4th and tricky against WSU and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, well, okay. But that stuff doesn't often work in the league.
Robert Brown saying that maybe we got beat up a little bit and still recovering from that. Well, it's not going to be any easier coming up against the 49ers next week. But I still feel that even if you're playing beat up after the Lions, you have to beat a bad Giants team. Craig Payne saying, did you see JSN on that long Gino run? He had double coverage and had his hands up to keep man coverage on him while Gino ran behind him. Huge IQ play by JSN. Yeah, he actually got that. I mean, we've seen DK do similar types of things on run plays. But yes, he brought his hands up late too. And you even saw the defender. It was such a good fake that the defender swatted at his hands and the ball wasn't even coming to him.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. We've seen DK do that in the past too. So maybe a coaching point that they go to. No, that was a huge IQ play. No doubt about it. A great point by Craig here. The time he got down there and they ended up getting the field goal. That was right at half. There was 22 seconds left when they got the ball. And
when he went down, there was 6 seconds left. He had a safety that was bearing down on him. Well, could he have made that guy miss? He also had his foot swatted, so I don't know if it was a balance type thing too, but it did feel like maybe he could have gone some more. It's tough because going back and looking at it, just on the replay, it did look like he got his foot swatted right before he went down.
It did. I think he regained his balance, but then again, at that point, you got to think like these people are human beings too. And do you know exactly how much time is left on the clock in your head? All you know is like, oh my God, I got a big gain here. We got to get down. We got to get the field goal unit out. I think that was probably more where his head was at, but maybe it was that he got tripped up. Hard to say.
Yeah, Eaglet's never saying there were 2 safeties. So, yeah, and then he had that other play where he caught it in the wide open field. He got like 6 extra yards, and then he ran 20 yards to gain 0 extra yards. So it's like, and finally it went down. It was like, well, did he really need to run that 20 yards then?
Yeah, I don't know. Big shout out to the 267 folks here joining us live. Hey man, if you're frustrated with this loss, and you appreciate what we're doing here and coming and talking about it in a painful moment, shoot us a like. And if you're feeling super generous, a subscribe would be amazing, and we do appreciate it.
Yeah, even the Giants fans that are in chat, like the least you could do is give us a sympathy like. I mean, you've come in here and you're mixing it up in chat. Like,
good for them.
Give us a like button while you're here.
Oh, for sure. And at the end of the day, man, if you're a Giants fan and you're here mixing it up in a respectful way, like hats off to you. It's a win. Yeah, talk your smack. I get it. It's fine.
Yeah, but if it's not like, if it crosses the line of respect, I'm going to block you so hard, you're never coming back.
He's going to block you so hard that you will never mistake him for a Seattle Seahawks offensive lineman.
There you go. That's what I should have said. Damn it.
Yeah, there it is.
Carly asked how long was Gino's run. It was 32 yards. And so if it felt like 40, it's because it was awfully close.
It was awfully close and showing the wheels. That's one of the things that's totally underrated about Gino's game. And look, he really did do a good job of leading the offense and trying to keep everybody calm and getting things going. You could see his frustration with some of the penalties because that tried to blow up a number of drives, whether it was false starts or legal formation or whatever it was. That was tough.
If there's one person that you really can't pin this loss on, it is Geno Cyril Smith, because for him to have that frustration clearly on the sideline, he did his best to get them fired up when they went back down there. He ultimately ended up driving them down to get him into field goal range, to get it tied up. And then it was a special teams failure there at the end, or I don't know, a rules failure. We'll have to see. But I want to hear an explanation on that. What happened on that field goal kick?
Yeah, I definitely want to hear an explanation too, because the second it happened, I was like, somewhere Bam Bam's going like, you can't do that no more. Like, because of me. And I don't know. I maybe it was legal the way that he did it, but I'm not going to sit here and whine about calls, man, because that wasn't the long and short of it at the end of the day. At the end of the day, this team got dominated up front on both sides of the ball.
See, Carly saying, what's worse, losing to the Giants or losing to the Cards and Rams?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. That's a yes.
Yeah.
Maybe more so Cards and Rams, just because inside the division, like, okay, if they go on and they are 4-0 against the Cards and Rams this year, I'm going to forget about losing to this stupid Giants team.
Yep. No, for sure. Just a tough, complete team loss in difficult to watch. It feels like that there is a path to improving here. And I do have faith in Coach Mike and even Ryan Grubb. Like, again, I'm not going to be calling for jobs here. It's week 5 and all that. But I will say that I have cut back on the beer a crap ton over the last 3 months. And, like basically barely drinking at all. But we brought out the beer refreshing hams today after that one, because it definitely hurt my feelings.
Okay, Grubb can keep calling the plays. We put a little buzzer under his chair, and like McDonald has like a sideline buzzer like in his pocket. When he wants Grubb to call a running play, he just buzzes it and like his seat vibrates. Like not real bad to like scare him or anything, but just like enough. Like some of the new vehicles, they have the vibration within the seat. Like if you're going outside of your lane, or if it notices your eyes aren't on the road. Like that's what we need to get for Grubb. Yeah,
I'm with you on that one. And on the rewatch, what I'm very curious to look at in terms of how the play calling matched up with what they were seeing. We keep hearing things like, hey, it was just the looks that we're getting and all of that stuff. Well, I want to see how often pre-snap they were getting single high looks or 8 in the box looks where they would, that would tip you to be like, okay, let's go ahead and get out of this run play, get to a pass play. and see how it goes. But just from the eyeball test, as I was watching it live, it felt like the Giants were in too high a ton and not even really disguising it that much in terms of, dropping guys back in, getting back to a too high look while showing a one high look to start with. So I want to see if that excuse holds up.
Okay. Well, something to watch. Looking forward to this week. We might not even get to it, Adam, because it's going to be a short week. Thursday night football against the San Francisco 49ers. And so we're going to have a compressed week too. Shoot.
Yeah. Does that mean we're doing flagship tomorrow? Is that what we're doing? We should definitely talk about this stuff. Where's all the EPs? Ryan, DCH, Brian, everybody. Like, we need you.
Yeah. Do we drop a show this week? What's going on? We need to have a meeting. This is not the time to do it. Sam asking, is Grubb expected to score on every drive? Is that a college thing? Yeah, that's true. If this were a college offense, we need to be scoring on every drive. Come on now.
I think the biggest difference is just the amount of possessions. You get way more possessions in the college game on average than you do in the league. And so I think the mentality is, oh, shoot, okay, we ended up having to punt the ball away here. We're going to have a zillion more chances to get this done. Where in the NFL, each possession is a little more precious.
Steve Orr, don't bring that into our chat. Card's going to somehow win the division.
He ended it with an LOL, so that's not serious. And it might be, I mean, if we don't win it, that would be the least mad I'd be if the Cards somehow ended up winning this division.
That's true, because then it wouldn't be the Rams or the Niners. But
yeah.
So I guess there is some. Maybe it would make you laugh. Maybe he's just laughing at the thought of it. Like, hey, wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah, it would. Look, the absurdity of it would make me laugh. There's no doubt about that. Okay, all right. So Ryan says no rest for the weary. You better get them golden pipes going, Brandon, because I know it to give everybody a little insider information here. The last week or so, Brandon's done a couple shows a night in some cases and is really ponying up and doing big stuff. So, dude, we're going to lean on you even harder.
Hey, we go with what the executive producers say. Ryan 911 came in big this week with his super chats. Big thanks to Ryan. Big thanks to Samuel Gelber, who also came in. We had Don Matta. We had Aaron Sherwood. Long live the king. Pepper Horton, Carly Perkins, all coming in with super chats today. So yeah, big thanks to everybody for helping to support the show today. If you want to help support it too, you can go to getintheflock.com and you can join us there, become a member of the flock. And yeah, we had a good time in the Discord today, even despite the loss. But I mean, it was an okay time. It's a lot more fun when we're leading and winning.
That's right, because as one of the wisest men I have ever met told me once, it's better to win than it is to lose.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say:
go Hawks.
Go Hawks.